Hey friends, I did a post yesterday I titled it "Peace is the Way," and I talked a bit about, um, I told a story of being on a retreat with Thich Nhat Hanh, and he told a story about Thich Nhat Hanh had told a story about a monk meditating on an orange, and then at the end of the meditation, they were supposed to eat the orange, but the monk came to Thich Nhat Hanh and said, I can't eat this orange. I feel like having done this meditation, I feel like the orange is my friend. And Thich Nhat Hanh said, it's a hard fact that living means killing. If you want a more thorough explanation or kind of explication of all the ways in which that kind of unpacked for me yesterday, you should watch that post. But I'm picking it up again today because I was just reflecting on that a bit, and it struck me that in many ways, if I'm thinking about what it means to become more conscious, what it means to become a more awakened human, one of the yardsticks of consciousness is sensitivity to suffering. And as I spoke about yesterday, in alignment with this lesson of living means killing, and peace is the way, which is another sort of famous Thich Nhat Hanh saying and way of looking at the world. In alignment with that, it becomes evident to us that the more awakened we become, the more acutely aware we will become of the ways in which we cause suffering. And I don't mean that, in some ways that sounds like a tragic outcome. I don't actually believe it is. I think that is ultimately we will discover more and more deeply what it means to be alive, what it means for us to have a place in the world, and what it means to exist within an impermanent universe, which is the only way we can exist. We can't. This is a thought experiment that I've run before for myself. The only way existence can take place is within a universe of constant change. And so change means impermanence. And impermanence means death, means the end of things, means things begin and end. Things and lives. And in a way, I suppose, there's a way in which our own existence, just our own consciousness, our own capacity to be a conscious being is inherently predicated on this impermanence of the world. It's predicated on I was about to say suffering, which would be interesting because that's what the Buddhists say. But it's like being a self, being a being with an identity, involves causing suffering and experiencing suffering. That's only tragic if we don't understand that that's what it means to exist. If we understand that that's what it means to exist, that it is the inevitable price of existing within impermanence, then that's no longer tragic. And as I said yesterday, I was always a little bit unsatisfied with the answer or the prescription of, well, living means causing suffering or living means killing, but we try to minimize it. Why? If living means killing, why is minimizing it? What's the moral imperative to minimize it? Not that I don't understand that might be a prescription. Of course we want to minimize the suffering we cause, but metaphysically it kind of didn't make sense here. It didn't track. It didn't fully I don't understand why it ought to be binding to do as little of something that is inevitable as possible. But and from the mind's point of view, from the point of view of just like a moral code in my mind, it doesn't really make much sense. But if we acknowledge and we're feeling constantly how our own existence causes suffering, we're not just dismissing that. If we're genuinely digesting that, fully reckoning with that, then all of a sudden it's not a code in my mind anymore. It becomes a relationship to being itself, a relationship to being in existence. And I will try to minimize the suffering I cause. I won't do it because there's some moral code I'm trying to uphold, some intellectual prescription. I'll do it because I'll feel every ounce of the suffering that I cause. Because consciousness is sensitivity to suffering. And so I will minimize it because it'll be the most natural thing to do. So again, to sort of follow each step of my thinking on this, you might need to go back and watch my first post, because I go a little bit more into depth of how that first principle kind of it's not a principle, that first realization kind of has unpacked for me over the years since I went on this retreat with Thich Nhat Hanh way back when I was in my 20s, early 20s probably. But that next layer kind of showed up for me today. So I wanted to share that and capture that for myself, capture that realization. So that's where I'm at today, folks. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you.